Ready? All right, we're going to go ahead and start with roll call. Good evening, everyone.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem LeVar,
Here.
Councilmember Alfieri,
Here.
Councilmember Case,
Here.
Councilmember Nakai,
Here.
Councilmember Neal,
Here.
and Councilmember Zulawaga.
Present.
Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. America, we love you.
All right, this evening, council has a new electronic program that we are going to slowly trip our way through. It has a new way for us to vote, and it will pop up on the screen. When people come up to speak, they're going to be able to see the time start and their time remaining, and you'll see the speaker's name. But it's brand new to us. Today's the very first day that we've even opened it. So just have patience with us as we kind of trip through this. So thanks. And one other brief note before we get started, I heard that the homecoming parade went really well. The bonfire was awesome, and it was an excellent collaboration between the city and the school district. And so I just want to thank all of the city employees who were involved and the school district for such a smooth, amazing operation. So thanks, everyone. All right, we're going to move on now to 3A, which is appointments to the Downtown Development Authority, Utility Advisory Committee, Planning Commission, and Keep Woodland Park Beautiful. And I believe we're starting with the DDA.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. As council is aware, there are still vacancies on all of the city, not all of them, but most of the city's boards and commissions. We continue to advertise as per council policy on Facebook, the city website, and the various venues that we have. We currently have applications in, and the first one we are going to start with is the DDA, the Downtown Development Authority. As council will remember from the last council meeting, we had two of the applicants that weren't present that were applying for this position, and council asked that we table it until the next council meeting to when both applicants can be here and present. So I believe that both of the applicants are here this evening. We have Christopher Hilderhoff, if you could raise your hand. Thank you, sir. And then we have David Maharis. So both applicants are here for your interviewing.
Council, do you want to go ahead and have each individual come up, just briefly introduce themselves, why they're interested, and then we'll go from there?
Sounds good.
Okay. Mr. Hilderhoff, if you'd like to come up first, that would be great. Yeah.
Okay. So, this one.
Push the little button.
Mic check. Are we on now?
Yeah.
Can you hear me? There we go.
Yes.
All
I'm
right.
not doing that 'cause
Off
we
to a
don't-
good start.
Okay.
My name is Chris Hilderhoff. My wife and I, Aubrey, moved to Woodland Park in July of last year. We fell in love with the city and all of the hiking and outdoors activities that are nearby. Fell in love with the small business center minded community. We moved from a similar community in Kansas City, Missouri, and really want to be an active part in helping to foster small business engagement, the prosperity of Woodland Park as a city, and do my best to be as active part of that as possible.
Council, do you guys have questions, comments?
So Chris, can you tell us what experience you have with downtown development or development in your past?
Sure. This level of city council and downtown development is still very new for me, and I'm excited about that opportunity. Formerly with our Brookside community is the name of the community we lived in. I served as the president of the board of directors for the business association there. And as part of that appointment, I oversaw approval of budgeting, how we were going to move forward with spending dollars on projects and events. So I spent what, 2014, 2015, up until the time we moved. And so that's the extent of my engagement with that.
Oh, you have no question?
Anything further, council? Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much for applying. And then Suzanne, do you mind if we hear from the second?
Absolutely, I
applicant
think we
and then-
should.
Okay.
It's Mr. Maharis.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
For the benefit of the people you want to share.
Good evening, council. My name is David Mijares, and I'm a civil engineer here in town. I've had my firm here in Woodland Park for about the last 6 years, but lived in Teller County for the last 20 years. Worked with the city quite a bit, mainly on land development projects, and know the staff well and can work with them effectively. Really interested in seeing the city kind of pursue part of its vision that it's pursued in the past, the library, Memorial Park, which I worked on, and some of the other projects that kind of develop that downtown core. So really, I'm coming at this from a land development perspective.
Council, questions, comments?
Good evening, David. So land development, you want to talk a little bit about what that means to you and what you see your skills can benefit the current projects that the DDA faces?
Yeah, and I think, an understanding of, what's working on that property, especially, the drainage constraints with Fountain Creek and, part of the vision they see with some, mixed use development and other aspects. I've done that quite a bit in my career. I worked in California previously, and we did a downtown revitalization of the whole town of Clayton, which is a small town near Walnut Creek, that I was the lead project engineer on, that, go for funding and grants, green sidewalks, beautification, those aspects, trail corridors, a lot of those aspects.
And for the benefit of everyone else, you're talking about Woodland Station, is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
correct.
Good.
Anything further?
Just a comment, and
Sure.
Robert, good advice. The reason why I'm not asking a lot of questions is I did have the opportunity to have extensive conversations with both candidates. So I'm very aware of both of their skills and contributions. I think they're both very good candidates. It's going to be splitting hairs. I kind of made up my own mind based on the discussions I've had with both of them. But there's been a lot of conversations between myself and the two. So that's why I'm not asking a whole bunch of questions. They're both good candidates. Thank you.
Great.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes.
One thing I would like to remind council is that this is for Jan Wilson's term. Jan Wilson resigned. So this term expires 6/30/2022. So it's not a full term, this
Right.
appointment.
Good reminder. All right. Anything further? Okay. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
I always want to say Mujeres, but it's Mijeres, right? And thank you both for being here in person. We really do appreciate that. It does help us a lot. Okay, Suzanne, how would you like to do the vote?
It's your call. If there's anyone, is council so inclined to make a motion
Okay.
for this evening?
Council, would one of you like to make a motion for an applicant to start?
I would like to make a motion to appoint David Mijares to the Downtown Development Authority to serve in the stead of Jan Wilson, who resigned, with a term ending in June of 2022.
And I'll go ahead and second that motion.
Thank you. We're going to test our voting now, council.
There it is.
Okay, you should be able to vote.
It doesn't say what the motion
Yes, it
was.
does. Well, it says that. It says what you're voting on.
Yeah, but it doesn't say the verbiage. Okay.
Uh-oh,
Okay.
I closed it. Uh-oh.
So the voting,
Yeah, I would've
council, the
thought-
voting is complete. And you'll see the voting on the screen that this motion has passed 5-1 with Alfieri voting no.
Okay, well, that's our first hurdle. It worked.
Okay,
So
Grace, I just have one request as you guys develop this. Could you actually make it so when we get the vote on here, can you put the words, make it so that the words of the motion are actually on our screens before we vote? Is that too complicated?
I think we can do that.
And,
It may not happen tonight. but it will happen, yeah.
didn't mean that. I
Sure, Rusty.
And
So,
Chris,
Mayor
I just
Pro
want
Tem?
to let you know, please submit your application the next one around because I do
Yes.
believe you are a good candidate
Yes.
for the next
Absolutely.
one. Please.
with your permission, I'd like to swear everybody in at the end.
Sure, that'd be
When we
great.
have all the appointments.
Okay.
Okay, the next appointment that we have on our agenda this evening is the appointment to the Planning Commission. There are currently 3 vacancies on the Planning Commission. There are 2 terms that expire on 1/1/24 and 1 term that expires on 1/1/23. The city clerk's office received an application from Carol Harvey. Ms. Harvey meets all of the criteria to be on the Planning Commission and is with us this evening in the audience.
Mrs. Harvey, I'm going to go ahead and have you come up to the podium just briefly and just give us a little rundown of why you're interested and who you are for those who may not know.
No idea if this is on.
I think it's on.
We'll try. Well, I'll have to be honest, I got double teamed. You've read my application, you know what my past experience with planning commission is. And it troubled me that there were so many vacancies on the planning commission in a period of time where the city is finalizing the comprehensive plan. And more importantly, that our consultants with comprehensive plan are reviewing some very important sections of our city code. And I really do want to be part of that and make recommendations to the council. I think everyone understands that the planning commission is simply an advisory board for the city council. And at this point in time, I'm ready to jump in. I know when I was on the planning commission from 2008 to 2012, I had a learning curve. Although I'm a little older now and I do forget some things, but I do remember a lot of things about the planning commission, and I'm ready to jump back in and help with that process. I have no idea which of the positions that I've applied for. I don't really care, but I know I have turned down a couple opportunities to work on a couple of other committees with the city in the last few months. And it was because I had a family crisis, if you want to call it that. My brother was diagnosed with a really nasty testicular cancer. And as the oldest of 5, it took me a while to get over the fact that I can't jump in and fix everything. And it was very humbling to acknowledge that I didn't have that authority. And when as a family, we turned that over to God and realized He can do the battle, it was a little easier for me to accept the challenge my brother had. He acknowledged it immediately, and he is doing well. He's undergoing his last session of 5-day chemo today, and I'm ready to assist. But I have to say, my brother is also a city council member in a town about the size of Woodland Park in a little western mountain town in North Carolina. So he understood completely that I was leaving our phone conversation this evening, coming over and yet again throwing my hat in the ring. And I appreciate the consideration, and I'm ready to go to work if that is the desire of the council.
Excellent. Council, do you have any questions or comments?
Well, my only comments are looking at your resume with your skills in counterterrorism and defense. I would be okay if you get called to solve some of our other national problems. So.
Right now, I am a full-time grandma and making a lot of quilts. No more counterterrorism.
Well, the number coming over our border, I wouldn't be surprised if we have to deal with it with city planning in due season. So,
You might be right, Robert.
yeah.
I'm sorry to hear about your brother, and thank you for your consideration to serve us again. And we really appreciate it. I hope he recovers quickly.
As do I. Agreed.
Council, can I get a motion, please?
I'll make a
I'm-
motion to appoint Carol Harvey to the Planning Commission for the January 1st, 2024 appointment.
I will second it.
Okay, council, you may vote. Okay, as council can see, this motion passed 5-1 with Alfieri voting no.
Thanks, guys. I'm ready to go to work.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Carol.
Carol.
Okay. Next, we have an appointment to the Utilities Advisory Committee, and we have incumbent Rick McVeigh has applied for that position. There are currently 2 permanent openings on that committee and 2 alternate openings on that committee. Rick has been on the UAC for many years, and he has reapplied to continue with that membership. He is with us this evening to answer any questions.
Rick, if you wouldn't mind just coming up for a moment, just introducing yourself and just let council know why you're interested, if you don't
Sure.
mind.
Good evening, I'm Richard McVeigh. I've been on the UAC most of the past 10 years. I've enjoyed it. I've learned quite a bit from Kip and other city employees. I think I can be of some service to the city. Obviously, this was not my career. I've been in construction most of my life, but I've been around water issues from time to time. I've been a resident of Colorado for over 50 years and Woodland Park for 34. Any questions?
Council, questions, comments?
So, yeah, I have one. Talk to me about the city reservoir and your vision and your hope, your expectation on that.
Well, I think the Boy Scout property is a good choice. I think the reservoir needs to happen in the fairly near future, not tomorrow. I'd like to be a part of the planning of that.
And what if those negotiations don't, have you had any, I mean, those negotiations might go through, but if they don't, any other creative thoughts about what might we do for water reserves?
I know that there are other possibilities out there for reservoirs, though I don't know the particulars of those.
Thanks for serving for so long. Appreciate it.
Council, anything further? No? All right, can I get a motion for Rick, please?
I'll move to appoint Mr. McVeigh. Did I say that correctly?
Yes.
Thank you. To serve a term on the UAC for us. Thank you for applying.
Clarification, do we have the term, the length of that term?
Sure, he can, you can appoint him to the permanent opening. And Kip, help me remember the length of the term? 2 years.
I'll second.
Do you want to make that modification to? your-
No, staff will take care of that.
Oh,
Thank you.
I'll second it then.
Okay, council, you may vote.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is fun. You do.
Okay, thank you, council. This motion has passed unanimously.
Great,
Thank you for your service.
Okay, the last and final one that we have are appointments to the Keep Woodland Park Beautiful Committee. There are currently 8 vacancies on this committee, and we have 2 applicants that have applied. They're here with us this evening, Claudia Miller and Audra, and I hope I say your last name correctly, Audra Fluke. They're both here with us this evening.
Great. Ms. Miller, would you mind coming up to the podium first, please? Just let us know a little about yourself and why you're interested. That would be great.
Hi, I'm Claudia Miller, and I've lived in Woodland Park for the last 22 years. And I taught at both Summit Elementary and Columbine. And my interest in this committee sort of spawned from a program that I initiated at Columbine called the Young Wildlife Ambassador Program. And in 2020, we planted the gardens at Lions Park after the kids had studied a lot about gardening with a horticulturist. And most recently, I was involved in the city cleanup. And I was so impressed with the organization that day and with the congeniality of the people working on that committee, and also the collaboration with different groups that were involved in that cleanup. It just gave me such a happy place to be, and I really enjoyed that experience. When I looked at the 2002 mission statement up to now, there were several, but they were all inclusive of promoting beautification through education, and also had the inclusion of protecting wildlife and our natural resources. And I just felt it was a really great fit, if the committee felt so, for me to sort of work in tandem with my Young Wildlife Ambassador Program. I really feel strongly that when children gain knowledge, they need to do some service learning with it in areas where it's appropriate. And I know that when they're involved in something where they gain a strong sense of community, that they really, they just gain a stronger self-respect for the community and also self-esteem. Right now, currently, I'm working with a group of second graders over at Columbine, and they're becoming young ornithologists. They've been studying about birds and their habitats, and a project that I sort of envision for them, should they choose to go this route, is creating a little sanctuary in their school nature center, and also on the playground where they can bring other students out and they can draw and they can observe, notice the different type of birds in our area. In respect to middle school, I see it maybe they could do a wildlife nature garden to beautify their school. Maybe at the high school, work with the ironwork department in creating some silhouettes that they might consider presenting as an option for our medians coming into the city, because they're a little bit, I think they could use some revising. And if the kids were interested, just things like that, but it needed to sort of come from the kids. And after they gain their knowledge in certain areas, how they wanted to apply that to the city, and working in tandem with different groups, adult groups. So I'm really excited about it. I think that when I went to 2 of the meetings, and they seemed to think the education component might be a good fit.
Excellent. Council, any questions or comments?
So I have a question. In your application, you had written in regards to wildlife, there's sites around the city for protection, hazardous, city that are hazardous and cause entrapments such as barbed wire fences, spiked yard fencing, and pesticides. Can you expand on that a bit and how you might suggest mitigating those hazards?
Well, what I think might work, particularly at the middle and high school age groups, is having them get a city map, go out and collect some data where they see barbed wire after they've studied what entrapments entail, and sort of plotting their data on a city map, and then going back to the committee and seeing if that might be a project and getting those areas kind of rectified where possible, but definitely working with the committee.
And one other question. So when it comes to the private property that those hazards are on, how do you see handling that and addressing those hazards if it involves private property?
Well, I see also sort of an educational component for the kids to maybe get a little article in the Courier of encouragement. I mean, you can't encroach on people's property rights, but maybe some friendly suggestions, how they've had wildlife articles in the past from Tim. Maybe the kids could write one up and they could have a little use section in there where they're giving some some ideas.
And then one other question, unrelated. You were on the infamous Deer Education Task Force last year. Were you on the lethal or non-lethal committee?
I was on the non-lethal, the education committee.
Yeah.
And then actually did some work with the fifth graders on creating some educational activities to kind of create public awareness on how we might handle some of the plant problems. That's why we took over Lions Park that one year for adopting the gardens, and kind of some awareness of where there might be some street crossings for the deer that could be rectified through some signage.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Claudia, for applying. I am intrigued at your contribution to it because a certain part of that education factor, I think, is will enrich what is you have Make Woodland Park Beautiful. It's, I think the committee is called Keep Woodland Park.
Yeah.
You sound like a Trump supporter, but I'm sure it's not intentional.
No, it wasn't. It was, I was running down to grandkids like Carol. I had to be at a meet and I thought, what was the name of that committee?
So my observation of the committee is that their charge is to work on things like keeping it clean, keeping Woodland Park clean, dealing with graffiti, dealing with some of those issues. So I am intrigued at your contribution of the education aspect. I'm a little concerned about the fact that it might turn political. And so could you speak to that?
One great thing about working with kids is it isn't political. And I would like to see them have the experience of working with the committee and gaining perspective. But the idea of, I think I sense why you're saying that, because the deer issue was very political. It was a big thing, but this has taken a different stance. It's a real happy stance because most people are involved in, wanting to see beautifications through creative little projects. I think that was a kind of a paramount year. I don't see it causing political issues. I wouldn't want it to go that way.
Okay, thank you.
I can also just briefly say that I sat on council when Miss Miller was a part of that task force, and she was very professional. She never made an issue. She personally never made the issue political. She gave us wonderful educational handouts and an entire list that included plants that were supposed to be non-edible by the deer. And some of them were, some of
They've
them were.
adapted.
Yeah, but she personally never made anything political, and she was very helpful. So
I was on council as well, and I would agree with Hillary.
her main focus was always just education.
Education.
So,
Well, I think it's an intriguing contribution to the committee, and I think it could very well enrich it. So thanks for applying.
thank you, Ms. Miller. We're going to go ahead and have Ms. Fluke come up and speak, and then we'll have Suzanne direct us.
Hello, I'm Audrey Flug. I've lived here for a little over 2 years. I'm an officer of Virginia County Jail, Teller County Sheriff's Office. Really what's drawn me is just that I want to keep Woodland Park, Teller County really beautiful. It is beautiful, but it breaks my heart to see trash around our city. I mean, we have a lot of people drawn to us, and that's a wonderful thing, but with that, it does come some wear and tear. So I just want to be a part of keeping it beautiful and just, you know, having the boots on the ground and getting my hands dirty and doing what I can for my community. Really, it's just about community service and being a part of it and doing whatever I can, whatever the beautification calls me to do.
Excellent. Council, any questions or comments?
I just had one question because I was a little confused with your application. It says, how long have you been a resident of Woodland Park? You said 2 years, but your address is Florissant.
Yes.
So do you actually live in Woodland
I
Park?
live in Florissant.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah. my daughter goes to the high school here. All of my husband's side of the family
County resident.
grew up here. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. That's all I wanted to know.
On that same point, that helps me see a little more clearly of why you're wanting to be on Cape Woodland Park Beautiful. But in disclosure, one of our residents expressed a concern to council that we have apparently, somebody will have to clarify this, a 3-mile rule of people who are on our boards. So
Not that I'm
I'm
aware
not
of.
familiar with
So-
that.
So, and I'm not seeing that that's particularly applicable in this. I'm thrilled that you want to see the picking up of trash, because I'm the same. Going up Bluebird Hill, I go, oh, if I only had a garbage bag, you know?
And even if I could just be called on to volunteer, if
Right.
I don't even make it on the committee, put my name, put my email address out there. I would
Right.
love to be a part of that.
Thank you.
Yeah, great.
Thank you.
So can I get a clarification on that? Is there some, and I'm sure others got the email this today about that. Does anybody know if there is some ruling on the distance from Woodland Park for applicants on boards?
So certain committees require that the members be Woodland Park city residents.
Okay,
And so then that means to actually live in the city of Woodland Park. Other committees do not have that requirement. Keep Woodland Park Beautiful has it allows the opportunity for people not just in the city of Woodland Park to be on that committee.
okay,
They don't have to be residents.
very good. That clarifies it.
I can't imagine you'd have to be a resident to pick up trash.
I know. I'm welcome anyone that would like to join and
Yeah.
help. I think
Right.
it's admirable. So.
Right.
Thank you.
So council, can I get a motion for our first applicant, Ms. Miller?
I'll move to approve Ms. Miller as a member of the Keep Woodland Park Committee.
I'll second it.
Council, you may vote.
There's 2 vacancies.
There's two.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
one. There's eight.
There's 8 vacancies. So
I don't have one, Suzanne.
Pardon me?
I don't have a voting option.
I'm consulting with IT here. On why. I have no
Oh, there it
idea.
was and it went away.
I'm just learning this.
It's working. It's trying. I
Okay.
see it clicking around.
And Councilmember Zulawaga, we
There
figured
it
out
is.
how to get the motion up there too. So you'll see
Oh, very good. Okay.
your motion's up there.
it
Got
came
it.
back up for all of us.
Yeah.
So you want
So
us to revote
Okay.
now?
Yeah. We'll get this.
Might be the most interesting thing that happens all night,
It's kind of fun.
which would be a good thing.
Okay, thank you, council. Motion's carried 5-1 with Alfieri voting no.
Can we get a clarification of length of tenure?
Rob?
They don't have terms.
No? They're not termed?
Mhm.
Thank you. Ms.
It's a
Riley says
community
it's no
service
term limit,
committee is
and
what it
it's a-
is.
Yeah. It's a working committee.
Okay, can I get a motion then for Mrs. Luke?
I'll make a motion to appoint Mrs. Fluke to Keep Woodland Park Beautiful.
I'll second.
Okay, council? Thank you, council. This motion has carried unanimously.
All right, thank you, council. And thank you, Ms. Miller and Ms. Luke for participating and joining. We really do appreciate it.
Mayor, with your permission, may I administer the oath of office?
Yes.
Okay, if I could have Audra, Claudia, Rick, David, and Carol join me up here. Here, face the council, please. And place your right hand. Repeat after me. I state your name, please. Do solemnly swear.
I do.
That I will support the Constitution of the United States.
Support the Constitution of the United States
And of the state of Colorado.
and of the state of Colorado,
The charter and ordinances.
the charter and ordinances
Of the city of Woodland Park.
of the city of Woodland Park,
And that I will faithfully perform the duties
and faithfully perform the duties
of the planning
of the downtown development.
Woodland Park. Upon which I'm about to enter.
Upon which I'm about to enter.
Thank you and congratulations. Congratulations. Sure, thank you. Thank you, Carol. And can I just have you sign your oaths of office?
Thank you, everyone, for your willingness to serve.
Mayor,
Yes.
may I make a comment?
Yes.
Mr. Mujeres, I do want to let you know things happen quickly. You may not be aware now that you are official. Tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock is our, we do have a special DDA meeting tomorrow at 8 o'clock, right here.
Same Batman channel,
you.
same Batman station.
Thank you.
Retired, Chris? Are you retired?
Yes. Thank you. Thanks, Rick. So council members of Luaga?
Yes.
Rob has your answer.
So they die, remove, resign.
Die, move, or resign.
Is that what it says, Rob?
So feet first. Gotcha. Right.
Okey-doke.
you, Suzanne.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
One down.
All right, we're going to move on to item 3B. And it was going to be an in-person presentation by Andy Vick, who's the Executive Director of the Cultural Office of the Pikes Peak Region, but he's not able to be with us this evening, so he does have a video prepared for us, and we're going to watch that.
Hello, and thank you for the opportunity to be here with you virtually today. My name is Andy Vick, and I'm the Executive Director of the Cultural Office of the Pikes Peak Region. Cultural Office is the nonprofit local arts agency that supports, advocates for the creative sector here in our community. Although our office is based in downtown Colorado Springs, our service area extends across all of El Paso and Teller counties, and many of our programs directly engage visitors and cultural tourists, as well as area residents. Over the course of any given year, the Cultural Office manages a diverse portfolio of programming like Peak Radar, Curbside Culture, and Military Arts Connection. However, our largest programming initiative each fall is our annual Arts Month campaign, which takes place during the month of October. By design, our local Arts Month coincides with National Arts and Humanities Month, which was established in 1993 and is observed every October throughout the United States. Orchestrated annually by the Cultural Office, our local Arts Month campaign elevates the visibility of arts and culture across El Paso and Teller counties by showcasing local talent, providing opportunities for arts advocacy, supporting cross-sector community collaborations, and creating new avenues for arts engagement and cultural enrichment. Despite the lingering challenges of COVID-19, Our 8th annual Arts Month celebration promises to be one of our biggest and best ever, with lots of new and exciting ways for community members and tourists to embrace our call to action, which is to have one new cultural experience with family or friends this October. To help connect residents and visitors with Arts Month, the Cultural Office has created artsoctober.com. This dynamic website is everyone's virtual portal to a rich array of Arts Month programming and special opportunities, including a series of creative campfires with local artists, an assortment of contest giveaways, including a chance to paint with an elephant at the Cheyenne Mountain Zoo, a featured Artist of the Day profile throughout the month of October, free online cooking classes, and a wide range of inspiring cultural activities and events produced by local artists and arts organizations from across our region. With the many economic, public health, and social challenges facing our nation and region, it's easy to understand how the arts might not be top of mind right now. However, the creative sector has been among the hardest hit by COVID-19 over the past year and a half, with performance venues closed, festivals and public events canceled, galleries going out of business, and gig workers without their next gig. Of course, local artists never stop creating, but it's still anything but business as usual. According to data compiled by Americans for the Arts, almost 60,000 Colorado artists and creative workers have lost their jobs as a result of COVID-19. And creative industry businesses across the state have suffered an estimated $2.4 billion in lost revenue over the last year as a result of the pandemic. Locally, the nonprofit arts and cultural sector's $153.3 million economic impact is not being fully realized as we continue to navigate the reopening of our venues and work to resume normal operations and programming in the wake of the pandemic. All of these challenges make our 8th annual Arts Month celebration more important than ever this October, not only to support the recovery of our local creative sector, but also to take advantage of an important opportunity to bring our community together around the arts and to help showcase and celebrate the talent and creativity that makes the Pikes Peak region such a vibrant and desirable place to live. But beyond just Arts Month, as you work to finance and facilitate our collective recovery from the pandemic, please remember that the creative sector will need your continued support and investment, not only for organizations like the Cultural Office, but for the thousands of small creative businesses, cultural nonprofits, and independent artists and performers who contribute significantly to the local economy, attract cultural tourists, and enhance our quality of life across the Pikes Peak region. I'd also like to take this opportunity to announce the upcoming release of Arts Vision 2030, our new 10-year cultural plan for the Pikes Peak region. In partnership with the B. Bradenberg Foundation, the Cultural Office has been working closely with a team
are going to be virtual.
Right.
I mean, how do you have a cooking class that's virtual and not have an opportunity to try it? It must be a throwback of COVID still.
All right, and we're going to go ahead and then move on to item 3C, which is the second quarter update of the Woodland Park Aquatic Center. And Cindy Keating will be our present. You're going to present it.
That's what I'm gonna do. Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem Nabar and council members. Tonight, I'd like to share with you the Woodland Aquatic Center second quarter report. I'm just waiting for Rob to put it up on the screen for you. Okay.
So while he's teeing it up, are you going to send us a digital copy of this?
I certainly can.
Okay.
It's just a couple slides.
Oh, okay.
Next, thank you. As far as operations and programming, there was very little change from the first quarter until June, when we transitioned to our summer schedule. In June, we removed the high risk open swim because it wasn't being utilized very well. And then we also changed the Woodland Swim Academy from Monday and Wednesdays from 4 to 6 to Monday through Friday till I can't speak either. Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 11:45 a.m. And then also we added some open swim times on Mondays and Fridays from 12 to 4. In the second quarter, we provided services for 2,298 lap lane reservations, 429 warm water lane and lazy river reservations, 3,281 open swim daily entries, 886 water fitness reservations, 52 private swim lessons, 145 Woodland Swim Academy participants, 30 high-risk open swim reservations, 29 lifeguards were trained. However, 20 of those were for Sanborn Camp, and 9 were for our facility. 19 Parents Night Out participants, 72 dive-in movie participants, 14 birthday party rentals, and 2 after-hour rentals. Rob? In the first quarter, we operated the facility at 58 hours per week. In April and May, when we added the open swim on Wednesdays, we operated at 62 hours a week. In June, as we transitioned into summer, we moved to 78 hours per week with the addition of the Monday and Wednesday open swim. The open swim remained at a maximum capacity of 100 people. Although the hours of operation increased, our staffing remained the same, creating those limitations for us. During the second quarter, we had significant staff changes. The assistant aquatics manager resigned, and that position was filled by our lead guard. Our lead guard position was then filled by one of our lifeguard positions. And after we had those filled, our aquatics manager resigned as well. Our new aquatics manager, who's here with me tonight, Brady Warner, joined us on June 14th, completing our management team. Rob? One back, thank you. So this slide is the second quarter financials. For our revenues and our expenses for 2018 to 2021. Our revenues in 2018 were 103,533, and our expenditures were 161,362, with a recovery of 64%. Our revenues in 2019 were 79,781. Our expenditures were 167,896, with a recovery of 48%. Our revenues in 2020, second quarter, remember, were $6,040 and expenditures of $55,908 of a recovery of 11%. And if we recall, we were closed. We didn't open the facility back up until June 15th. So we had about 2 weeks of being open in the facility in 2020. And then this year, our second quarter revenues are $72,887 and our expenditures are $123,847 with a 59% recovery. So our second quarter didn't change too much until June. When we get our expenditures finalized for third quarter, we'll be excited to come back to you and share with you what all the other changes that happened when the summer transition happened, and we brought Brady Warner on, our new aquatics manager, as well. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have tonight.
Council questions, comments?
Just one comment, and that is kudos, it looks like, from your second quarter of 2019 to 2021. Can you leave that slide for a second there?
Yeah.
Yeah. Although we've had a little less revenues, it looks like you've cut expenses by nearly $44,000. So well done.
You can attribute that to staffing.
Oh, is that a staffing issue? Well, didn't it also change the way you did your hours?
Our operations. as well.
Operation, yeah,
Yes,
right.
yes.
Yeah, noticeable. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Cindy, can you refresh my memory? What was our target for the recovery?
So the
rate?
goal for 2021 set by city council last year was 56%
That's what I wanted to know. So you've exceeded your goal
so far,
so far. Thank you.
first quarter and second quarter.
To piggyback on what Robert had commented on, I know you said the decrease in expenses from 2019 to 2021 was due to staffing. Do you expect that the decrease in expenses to remain, or is that just an issue of if you could be staffed where you want to be, those expenses would increase again?
We want to be staffed when we have programs that are requiring the staff to be in the facility. So we are still currently closed in the middle of the day. One, because we don't have a programming need at that time right now. And second is that we don't have any staff in the middle of that day as well. So programming is really driving our staffing right now. We have approximately, I wrote this down, I think we have 20 staff members right now. If you saw on the slide, we had 10. Yeah, 20 part-time, and then we have two full-time staff there currently. So it's really the staffing is driven by the programming.
Okay, one other question. When, if at all, do you expect to get rid of the reservation system? We still seem to be hearing some complaints about having to utilize that.
So we have lap swim reservations besides registration is the only reservation system that's left there. And that is for 3 lanes. And Brady and I were just talking earlier this week or late last week about starting up slowly getting rid of those 3 lanes for reservations. But we do have 3 lanes that are not for reservations as well.
Okay, one more comment. I second what Councilmember Neal had to say. As far as the deficit on the pool, it has increased, it has improved drastically over the last few years. However, I do need to point out that we're still dumping hundreds of thousands of dollars into this pool that is not being recovered every single year to operate it and not getting a return on that. So I do have to make that comment, but I do congratulate you guys. You have definitely improved and closed that gap compared to where it was. So thank you.
Thank you very much for working very hard to reach that. And our intention is to, well, we plan and hope to continue to increase that recovery rate.
I can say that after our Parks Board meeting and we met Brady, quite an impressive resume and great ideas that are coming forward from him and Cindy working in conjunction with their staff. And I think this council is going to be wowed. I have the luxury of seeing the August report and year to date with August, and you will be impressed. So I won't steal your thunder, but it's going to be really cool. So hang on, stay tuned.
And you will get to meet Brady officially when we do the 3rd quarter report. I thought it would only be fair to him for him to report on the aquatic center while he was employed there and not when he wasn't employed there. So I covered the 2nd quarter and he gets the rest of them now.
I wouldn't mind hearing your vision, Brady. That would, I mean, I don't know if we can have tolerance for that, but
If they're comfortable with it, that's fine.
Well, thank you. And I've grown up in aquatics, just so you know. My parents were school teachers, and in the summers they ran swimming pools. I actually had a nap pad in a pump room when I was 4 years old. Swam through high school and college. I'm a 3-time All-American swimmer, and I have run facilities all over Texas and a few in New Mexico. My last facility, I had over 90 staff members and an operational budget about $5 million. So what I'm trying to do here is get us back into an operational standard. When I got here, the lap lane reservations were a biggie. We did away with those pretty quickly when I came in for at least 3 of the lanes. So triathletes could start swimming, 2 hours versus a 50-minute, 55-minute, getting people back into their routines. Just this week, we added deep water aerobics back on Tuesdays and Thursday mornings. So I envision trying to get us back to close to where we were when we started. There's going to be, the hours are going to be adjusted. I don't think we'll ever quite be open as much as we were when we first started. Staffing still remains a concern. If I can get that solved, there's a pretty good need right now for stay-at-home parents. Would love some swim times in the middle of the day. All my staff right now is up at the high school. I don't have a very good feeder program for college kids in this area, and I'm trying to develop more staffing revenue or avenues to get more full-time staff in. Once I have that, we'll be able to start offering more targeted, specific and targeted times to engage all aspects of the community, some that we're just currently not able to do. We're also trying to draw in more special events in the Aquatic Center. We'll have our first one coming up in October with our pumpkin dive. We're partnering with Walmart. They're getting us pumpkins at cost. We're going to throw them all in the pool and the kids will just go in, fish them out, have a cakewalk and all sorts of fun things. It's a really fun event. And, we just want to build on that. We're going to do an Easter event. I want to try to do triathlons. There's lots of opportunities to bring a higher return on the city's investment and try to engage more people, not only in Woodland Park, but also around that. We're going to do an Easter event. I want to try to do triathlons. The important stuff. So hopefully that answers your question, and there's a lot to come. But we are kind of assessing situations and rectifying areas as quickly as we can. And I'm very pleased with where we are now versus when I started.
So
Thank you very much. Yeah. Go ahead.
I just had one comment, which I agreed with Councilwoman Alfieri. I'm glad to hear that we're getting rid of the reservation system.
Me too. Okay, thank you, Council.
Thank you, Brady.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Cindy. Thanks for the presentation.
Yeah, right.
Right, and council, you all did get a handout too for the Aquatic Center about private rentals and availabilities. So you all should have a handout.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You can share that with friends and family. All right, we're going to now move on to 3D, which is recognition of David Ott as a participant in the Veterans Local Government Management Fellow Program for the City of Woodland Park. And Rob is going to be our presenter.
Hi, Council. So some things that went on here before COVID that I'm just trying to bring back in place. So the Woodland Park's been a big supporter of the Veterans to Local Government Management Fellowship. So what that is, I'm a volunteer coordinator for the program through ICMA. And we bring in veterans who are usually on their last 180 days of active duty. So they're looking for jobs once they get out of the Army, whether it's retirement or they're just getting out. And so we go down and we find ones and place them in local governments in the area for about 4 months, 3 to 4 months. And so they're paid as active duty soldiers by the military. And then they work here as an intern and just to get experience. It's supposed to be a 50-50 trade or kind of a 51 more towards the veteran. Just getting job experience, building a network, learning what local government's about. A lot of people getting out of the Army, they go from a career of just being servants, public servants, and wanting to do good for different communities. So it's kind of a good mesh. It fits really nicely. So we just bring them here, build a network, and if we have the opportunity, maybe even giving them a job. But so just to kind of go over it with some of the council members that weren't here to know what the program was, or maybe if you didn't even know that it existed. I was the last member of the program that didn't have to come up here and do this before COVID hit. But then now that we're back, I'd like to talk about David. So David Ott, come on up here, David. He just retired. He was doing his internship, retired a little bit earlier than we expected. And then he got a job and he's moved on. But he did exceptional work for us. So he came up here, he started working on the fiber project for us and just digging into the weeds, finding out what needed to be done. And it was really a program that's been stalled because we just haven't had time to do it. And he stepped in. I gave him the kind of the left and right limits with it, and he picked it up and ran with it and has done a phenomenal job. And like I said, he has a real job now, so he doesn't work with us anymore. But I'll give the rest of the time to David and just let him talk about his experience.
Yeah, thanks, Rob. I appreciate it. I also appreciate the opportunity to work for the city since I live in the city. Didn't have to commute. I got to come here. That was really nice. I'll tell you, I just scratched the surface in the time that I was here of what your city staff does. You know, they do a lot and they feel a lot. And, you know, people like Sally there had spent a lot of time with me explaining things about planning, and we talked about a lot of stuff. And Rob, you know, talking to me about things that we do. I worked with Kip on, you know, asking him questions about things that I didn't know about, working with this fiber project on policies with the city and things like that. So I have a lot of appreciation for what our city staff does. And I hope that you guys do too, because they work really hard. And I really appreciate them, and I appreciate all the things that I learned from them. And so I'd like to say thanks, and that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for your service.
Mr. Ott, we actually have a coin for you for your service to our community.
Thank you.
Did you get one? Yeah. Did you get one? The red code? No?
Well, I'm gonna step out, folks. It's my birthday today. We're having a
Happy birthday. Thank you.
Run out on the day quick.
Say it's your birthday.
Go Arby.
That's all right. You don't have to tell us how many candles on your cake.
Oh. All right, we're going to go ahead and move on to item number 4, additions, deletions, or corrections. We have none. 5, consent calendar. We're on to 5A. We'll let Suzanne present that. Or if you want to do them both together, I don't know.
If for tonight, if we can do them separately because of the testing of this program, it would be appreciated.
Oh, good, yeah.
The first item we have on council's consent agenda are the minutes from the September 2nd, 2021 council meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the, what was the date? September?
September 2nd.
September
Yes.
2nd.
I'll second.
Okay, council, you may vote.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm. I didn't do anything. I just been sitting here.
Mhm.
I have no vote. I'm voting yes if you want to just put it in. There it is. Thank you.
There you go. Minutes have passed. Took a long time, but they have passed. Okay, the second item we have on the consent calendar this evening are the statement of expenditures for, let's see, August 2021 and the authorization of the mayor to sign the warrants. We also have Finance Director Aaron Basiletti on Zoom with us if there should be any questions.
Council, any questions? Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the August 2021 statement of expenditures and authorize the mayor to sign those warrants.
I'll second it.
Okay, council, you may vote. Okay, thank you. Motion carried unanimously. Okay, this evening,
Moving on to item number 6, we've got public comment on items not on agenda. Do we have anyone signed up?
I do not. I will check with Rob. Rob, is there anyone signed up on Zoom? No public comment, ma'am.
All right, that was easy. Number 7, unfinished business. None. 8, ordinances on initial postings. And, oh, good, it's only 8 o'clock. It's not 9 o'clock yet. Just check. All right, we've got item 8A, which is approval of ordinance 1404. And we have Sally Riley as the presenter, and council, I'd just like to remind you, this is quasi judicial, so please stick to this topic and this topic alone. And its purpose is to be set for public hearing. That is the purpose.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, council members. Ordinance 1404 is the initial posting for a rezoning of the Woodland Park Community Church from suburban residential to community commercial in order that they can continue to provide preschool services. And their location is 800 Valley View Drive, and would request approval and setting the public hearing for October 21st.
Council, any questions or comments?
Sally, do you have a plat map of the property?
This is up on, I'll be sharing all of that during the public hearing. It's on Valley View Drive, 800 Valley View Drive.
So it's where the church is, and to the east?
It is the church.
Is that
Yes.
would be where it is?
No, the preschool is within the sanctuary itself.
Oh, okay. And from what I see in the paperwork, it was miszoned or something when it was reclassified. It was,
We'll get into all of that when we have the public hearing.
so you just want us at this point just to
Yes, please.
move it to public hearing.
Move it forward.
Yes, please.
Okay, okay.
The applicant is not here this evening to be able to respond.
Very good. Council, can we get a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to approve ordinance number 1404 on initial posting. A request by Woodland Park Community Church to rezone from suburban residential to community commercial and set the public hearing for October 21st, 2021.
I'll second.
Okay, council. Thank you. Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you. All right, we'll move on to C. Oh, sorry, we're on B. I skipped. I got excited.
Settle down.
I'm trying. I had a Mountain Dew.
Oh, that'll do it.
Pretty excited. Item B is approval of ordinance number 1405. And the presenter is also Ms. Riley, and this is also quasi judicial, and it is for a public hearing to be set.
And ordinance 1405 is requested by the Stuffed Food Emporium and High Country Real Estate Holdings. This is a conditional use permit for a restaurant at 100 Morning Sun Drive in the neighborhood commercial zone. We request that you set the public hearing. I do have one correction to the ordinance. Rob, you took my.
You did.
Well, It's very simple. There were two conditions for this conditional use permit. One was to provide a fixture unit count for the utilities department. They have already done that and have submitted that. So there's no longer a need for the condition for the fixture unit count. However, we are replacing that with the requirement to repaint the roof, as well as restripe the parking lot. With that, I'd request approval and setting the public hearing for October 21st.
And briefly, before I get a motion, I forgot, I wasn't reading the ordinance. High Country Restaurant Holdings, probably most of the community knows, is held by my father-in-law. So he owns the building that the restaurant is going into, but I have no financial interest or gain from setting this public hearing, nor from the restaurant going into that building. So I just wanted to fully disclose that before I voted. So
Thank you.
So I'll make a motion to approve ordinance number 1404 on initial posting. Sorry, 1405 on initial posting as written, with the additional conditional use or condition, sorry, and set the public hearing for October 21st.
I'll second.
I'm sorry, I have a comment to make. I am a little concerned about a conflict of interest, as you have typically recused yourself from any topics involving your father-in-law in the past. So I'm not sure why this is different.
because this is not a controversial topic.
And
Setting-
it's for Stuffed Food Emporium and not.
Right, and not my father-in-law.
Well, that's not correct, because the applicant, it actually is listed as your father-in-law.
As the property owner.
He owns the property.
Exactly.
Not the applicant.
Because I have no legal conflict of interest and I have no perceived conflict of interest that the public has made me aware of. But in other issues, I have been made very well aware that people were very unhappy about some of the building that he was doing. And so I simply recused myself out of the perception, not out of legality.
Exactly. So I do not understand why there is not the same perception here that you have recused yourself in the past from any topics involving your father-in-law.
Because the public hasn't made it an issue
Well-
like they have in the past.
Okay.
And they have made it to me personally. No one in this room, no one through email, no one through phone calls, no one through the federal mail, no one that I'm aware of has an issue with this restaurant going into this building and the fact that my father-in-law owns the building.
Well, I think you're talking about the issue of the restaurant going into the building. I'm talking about the issue of the perception that there is a conflict of interest, and I am very concerned with that perception. So I'm saying right here, right now, I am one of those people that is concerned with that perception that there may be a conflict of interest. And that is based on your actions in the past to typically, or always, I'm not aware of a time that anything has come before this council involving your
been.
father-in-law that you haven't recused yourself.
There has been.
Thank you. I don't have any problem with you. I have no issue with it. Rest of council, anyone else have a problem?
No, and it's for posting. It's
It's a
just
public
initial
hearing.
posting. It's a public hearing.
Right.
We're not hearing the case. So if she wants to recuse herself when we actually hear the case, so be it. But
Right.
tonight it doesn't.
I would agree with that. I would say we'll take it to posting, and then if there's an issue coming up
Right.
at posting.
Sure.
for the
Action
hearing, then-
next time.
Certainly.
I am perfectly okay with that. However, I would say I've been advised by members on this council before to be extra cautious and avoid conflicts of interest. So I would certainly recommend that just recusing yourself from all the topics involving this, not only initial posting, but public hearings would be prudent, but I'm okay with that.
And I'll take that into consideration.
I guess we could try that third button and allow her to abstain.
Yes, you can.
We could, couldn't we?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yep, you can take a
so-
vote for that.
So
So
anybody
I do
second?
have a motion by Councilmember Nakai, a
Right.
second by Councilmember Case.
I gotta get to the right.
So we will
screen.
vote as the motion is presented.
Yes.
So.
Thank you. Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you. And we're going to move on now to item number C, which is approve ordinance number 1406 on initial posting. And Sally, you're the presenter for that as well?
Yes, thank
Okay.
you.
And this is also quasi judicial and just for a public hearing to be set.
This is a request by two residents, Anthony Longman and Darren Webster. And I will scroll down to the ordinance 1406. This is to vacate a 90-foot-long part of an alley, public right-of-way, which is between their residences at 640 West Gunnison Avenue and 506 North Walnut Street in the urban residential zone, and to set the public hearing for October 21st, 2021. I do have a map for this, which is attached. The exhibit is attached to the ordinance, which shows a very small portion of this alley that will come forward as a public hearing on the 21st.
This is precisely why I asked my question on the prior QJ.
Just to come.
Sure.
Sally, when your staff gets up to full staff, you get a replacement floor. If you could try to remember to put that map in on these initial
Yeah,
packets. if you
typically
could.
for a zoning, you don't include a map. This is a specific vacation of a land area. But we'll try to give you
If you can.
images
Yeah.
on first reading.
Yeah, thanks.
Anything further?
I'll make a motion to approve it. So I will go back to the top of it and make a motion to approve the initial posting of ordinance 1406 series 2021 and move it to public hearing on October
21st,
21st,
2021.
2021. This
Oh.
year, yes, this year.
And I'll second after I've coached them through it.
Okay, council, you may vote.
Just tag team on that one.
Thank you. Motion carries unanimously.
All right, now on to item D, approve ordinance number 1407, series 2021 on initial posting to be set for a public hearing. And I believe Aaron is going to be the presenter for this.
Mayor Pro Tem, thank you. I'm just going to introduce this and then Aaron can go into just the real high level, quick overview of what's contained therein. So this is, hear me?
No.
You heard that part? How's that?
Better.
And there's Aaron. Dude looks sharper than me. All right, so this is a supplemental. We came to you all and gave you a little bit of a preview of what we'd be coming with a couple of weeks ago on our special meeting. Supplemental is an additional appropriation to the adopted budget. We adopted the budget, of course, in December of last year, and so this is the first supplemental of the year. We might do another one early next year just to kind of reconcile, clean up the budget. There's a couple of key items here. You'll see this in the staff report. One of them I've been mentioning to you all for the better part of this year. In the 2021 budget, there was contemplated a mid-year COLA for staff. There was a lot of uncertainty around COVID and how the city's finances would do over the course of 2021. Our finances have been pretty strong and stable. And so we are recommending as a supplemental a 3% cost of living adjustment for our staff that would be retroactive at the beginning of the year. So you will see that filter down to I believe it's 4 different funds in which we have staff. General fund, a grants fund with our victims advocates, our cultural and rec, and then our 2 utilities funds, so 5 funds. And then you will also see on here the American Rescue Plan dollars. This is the $1.9 million we'll be receiving from the federal government this year and next year. And we will be appropriating some of that. We gave you a fairly detailed breakdown when we spoke to you a couple weeks ago. On this supplemental, there will be, I believe it's $149,000 for different items that Aaron can walk through that will be coming to you. And the rest of that will be leading for another time for appropriation. The last major thing I would note is that in the budget, we had $500,000 for a debt service payment that would go into general fund reserve to prepay the debt on the Woodland Aquatic Center when the note is callable at the end of 2025. So that was promised in the budget, but as best we can tell, it was not actually budgeted for as an expenditure. So it was, we hope that we'll save that. And so we will be able to do that. We just want to have a placeholder appropriation, if you will, in the budget document. So it's really more of a technical thing.
So it's more of a memorialization of a dedication of the reserve in the general fund.
That's a good way to put it. Absolutely. One other quick note, I left you hard copies of the staff report and the spreadsheet. We did make a small tweak that we missed a couple numbers in terms of transferring some of the general fund COLA money into the grants fund and the cultural and rec fund. Because those funds have very specific limited revenue sources, this would be a transfer from the general fund to cover those. And so the handouts you have that corrected in them versus the electronic packet. We'll make sure that the revised handouts are in the public hearing packet for October 21st, if you all want to move this forward. So one final note, and I will turn it over to Aaron. I had spoken to you all about the Northeast Teller County fire, possibly wanting to do the Knox box with our help. They have pulled that back, and they're going to wait and see how that technology develops a little bit more before pressing forward. So that will not be considered in the future, in the immediate future. So with that, Aaron, if you want to quickly go through what we mentioned here, if I didn't steal all your thunder.
Absolutely. All right, so what I'd like to do is just go through the items line by line in each fund. So if we start with the general fund, we're looking to increase the general fund appropriation by $651,389. As Michael said, we would like to appropriate the $500,000 for the debt reserve payment, which was already supposed to be included. So we're just going to memorialize that, as council member said. The mid-year cost of living adjustment, the COLA, it's $135,897 for general fund. That includes $1,900 for the grants fund for our VAF, and then also $11,765 for the cultural and recreation fund, reimbursing both of those funds. That will come out to a 3% COLA, retroactive to January 1. We had an amendment for the lodgers tax that was an adjustment that should have been made at the beginning of the year, but that was booked incorrectly. So we're looking to move $15,370 out of the lodgers tax fund and move it to general fund as it was supposed to be. Let's see. The victims advocate vehicle replacement. We had a vehicle that was totaled in a deer strike accident earlier this year. And so $15,492 will be replaced by general fund. And we had $3,600 that came from a Vail grant, making up the budget. We had a salvage recovery cost of $1,285. So that's that item. So those are all the general fund items we have. For the grant fund, we have the $3,600 for that vehicle replacement that I just discussed. And then we have the mid-year COLA, the 1936, which will be reimbursed from the general fund. And then we have the ARP items that we had discussed at our previous meeting. So we have a COVID hazard pay of $67,000. And you guys can stop me if you have any additional information as we're going through. I'm sorry. We have the hazard pay for the $67,000. We have a vaccine incentive of $12,000 for a $100 incentive for any employee who gets the vaccine. And then we have a municipal broadband deployment plan, phase 1. This is to add $40,000 to conduct phase 1 of the municipal broadband deployment plan. And it's a high level plan to roll out fiber optics. The Culture and Rec Fund, it's $11,765. This is again the COLA, which will be reimbursed through general fund. And then finally, we have Water Fund 510 will increase $14,753 from the mid-year COLA, and the Wastewater Fund 520 will increase $12,679 from the mid-year COLA. And that is all I have for you.
And council, remember, this is to set this issue for the public hearing. So if you have questions about something in this that may seem incorrect in order to pass it on to a public hearing, then those are good questions to ask. But that's the purpose of hearing this at this moment.
So can I get a clarification on what you're saying here?
Sure.
Are you saying that we're accepting this to go before public hearing with everything on it, the way it is on it?
Yes, you would either say yes to have it move forward to a public hearing, or if there's something you don't like, then you would say no.
So we're not taking time now to discuss why certain things on this should be considered for removal before it goes to a public hearing?
We can discuss items, but I think, well, yeah, we can.
It's
Sure, yeah.
administrative, so we could.
It would streamline it
Yeah.
for the public hearing. Yeah. So I have two, but Stephanie, go ahead if you want to work your way along the circle. Yeah.
So the one that I will take on, I guess, is again, the $12,000 that is budgeted for vaccine incentive.
I'm sorry, Stephanie, could you say again?
Vaccine incentive, $12,000. 2 points. First of all, I'd like to have a discussion as far as concern over liability. If we are encouraging our employees to get this vaccine, and as Mr. Councilmember Neal stated at the last budget session, that if $100 is going to push them over the edge to get a vaccine, and that is the only reason they decide to get it and then suffer any sort of adverse reaction, permanent disability, or death, what is our liability as a city if they're going to sit there and say, I wouldn't have done this if the city did not offer me an incentive to get the vaccine? I am extremely concerned about that. Second question is, how many employees do we currently have employed?
I believe we have budgeted 95, a little over 95 FTE, it's full-time equivalent. And then we have another, I don't know, 20, 25 part-time employees.
Okay, and how many do we have right now?
Oh, that's a good question.
Roughly.
Probably about 100, 105 between both the full-time and the part-time.
Okay, so I think we can safely assume that we're not going to get 100% vaccine employees vaccinated. So my question is, why are we then allocating $12,000 for $100 incentive per employee if we know that that money will not be spent? Where is the rest of the money going?
We are not sure how many people will go for it. So that's why, out of caution, we did the whole amount, or roughly the whole amount. If it's not all used, we'll lapse it back to, I guess it would be into the grants fund, and it would be available for something else.
And what's the timeline on that?
We haven't discussed the details on a timeline. It would be for a limited amount of time, but we haven't gotten that far yet. Pending
Okay.
council approval of the fuller supplemental.
Yeah. And again, would certainly like to hear particularly our attorneys take on my first question regarding what kind of liability we're opening ourselves up to. Our employees can choose as they want, and I thoroughly believe we need to be neutral in that to protect ourselves from any sort of litigation in the future, because we really don't know yet how this is going to play out in the courts. No one does.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you for raising the issue. And I agree with you that there is some amount of uncertainty with respect to how the, obviously, like, this is not a vaccine mandate, but how the vaccine mandates will play out in the court, where liability falls. But I feel comfortable that offering $100 as an incentive would likely be an insufficient causal link to attribute liability to the city for this. But I would be happy to do some further research and provide you with a more concrete or definitive answer for the second reading of this ordinance.
I would appreciate that.
I would say that we'd need concurrence of council to direct the attorney to spend those resources. I still say this is still a choice. It's an incentive. It's not a mandate. And so employees still have the choice to make up their mind. So I don't have any desire to expend any city resources in investigating liability of $100 incentive. So that's my position. Thank you.
And I don't have any incentive to go ahead and waste this money on vaccine incentives for employees who, again, as both of you have stated, it is their choice. They will either do it or they will not.
Absolutely.
Providing them an extra $100 ultimately leaves us open to potential litigation. We just don't know how this is going to play out.
Next. Councilmember Neal.
Stephanie, if you make a motion requesting that research been done, I will try to prove to you that I'm open-minded and I do want facts and data. If there is a real liability to the city, and I am a pro-vaccination person. I believe strongly in the vaccine, which is different from your beliefs. But I want to be open and represent the citizens, non-partial. So if you were to make that motion to direct our attorney to do that research, I will second your motion.
Well, I certainly can. I would appreciate council simply deciding that maybe we don't want to take the risk. And on top of it, I'll spend the money for our attorney to look into it further and just say, you know what, we support our employees' decisions one way or the other, and we're not going to drop ourselves into further liability potentially.
Well, since I do support the $100 incentive, I would not be willing to do that, but I will honor your motion to have that energy spent and finances spent to do the research on the data. I want to see the data too.
Perfect. We'll play this game. I move that the attorney provide more information for us.
Can we all have comment first before you?
Sure.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, is that?
And also, it doesn't need to be a motion. It can just be by consensus.
Either way.
Sure.
That's right.
Do you have any other comments on?
No, not at this time. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, so my first one, Michael, is the memorializing of our 500,000 allocation that we already approved in the budget last year or this year. That sounds like fancy terms for why didn't we put the money aside? And why are we having to find it now? So and if it's an employee issue, then most of us understand that. But if it's something else, could you articulate it, please? And if anyone else on council who is familiar with it wants to opine, certainly. I don't know why it was not in there.
I'll help you with that.
There you go.
The council, in our minutes and in the record, the council agreed through the process of the budget to allocate certain parts of our unreserved fund balance towards, and we have documented that, and I believe it's at a level of $500,000 now from the past 2 years, actually.
Right.
And the council needs to take official action to actually designate in the financial statements so that it is reflected in the financial statements that there's a designation. It either has to be an outside party, another governmental entity, or the council itself to take action to designate funds and to take them out of the unreserved, undesignated. Aaron can help with this, I'm sure. And so it's really just a formal action of the council to do that, if you will, on the records.
So is that possibly because Mayor Carr got sick like right after we
No.
approved the budget?
No,
And it didn't.
we just
didn't
never
move into
took
it?
action to designate a portion of our unreserved fund balance
When does that normally, typically, when does that normally, that action normally occur?
at any time that the council would like to do that.
Historically?
I don't remember that we did at one point have a designation of our fund balance for a revolving loan fund for funding the replacement on a schedule of our rolling stock and equipment. And so we had a spreadsheet actually that accounted for that, and it was part of the budget document. And we used $500,000 as our funding source instead of a bank. We used our own funds to fund replacing them on a regular interval. Police cars more often than, say, a pool car outside. Maybe the planning car doesn't get as much mileage or use, so it lasts longer. And then we would pay that back through appropriating that before any other expense to refund that to the fund balance and keep that money rolling on. And we correlated that to the depreciation schedule or the useful life of that type of asset. And that was an official designation and use of the unreserved fund balance in the general fund and the 410 fund over many years. It's been quite a while ago, and it worked very well. Other than that, I don't remember in my tenure the council really taking action to designate fund balance for anything else. The other designations in our financials are imposed on us by Tabor
Right.
and by accounting principles. So I hope that helps. Aaron, I'm sure you could add to that.
I think to simplify I think to simplify it is, I think it was an oversight on our part.
Okay.
And I
Just
think
no
the first
official
year we
action.
did designate it, and then I think the previous year we did not.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm personally more comfortable if we're gonna have an item that large in the budget that we're counting on, because that was the majority of council's desire, as I understand.
Yeah.
Right.
To have that in there instead of just hoping that.
That's exactly why I'm asking this question, because
Yeah.
I want to make sure that as we move forward, because we're not in 2025, council is going to change between now and
Right.
2025. I'm just wanting the community to be really certain that, yes, these funds have been set aside, they are set aside, and they will be allocated towards this when the time comes. So that's really why I'm trying to get clarity about this.
But remember, any council can undo that action and change
Well,
our minds.
Yeah.
So just keep
Yeah,
that in
yeah,
mind.
yeah,
It's
right.
not permanent.
Yeah.
Right.
Any
Yeah.
council can take that
But I
action to
think-
change it.
I think the first time when we initiated it, then we designated it when we voted on the budget. And then I don't know why.
It never was done as a formal action that the auditors would actually report it that way.
Okay. Yeah.
That's interesting. So if you look, this is the 21 budget, but if you look on page 2 of the budget, you'll see the general fund summary, and you will note the different fund balances within the general fund.
Mhm.
You'll see the $100 that I think we had set aside in
100,000.
2020.
Mhm.
I'm sorry, excuse me,
We did.
100,000 that's set aside for that explicit purpose.
Right.
So this 500 would be added on
Added to
top
that.
of that.
Correct. All right, very good. So my second issue in this proposal here is the section that says ARPA COVID-19 vaccine incentives for continuity of operations, $12,000. The city will offer $100 payment to city employees as an incentive to receive the COVID-19 vaccine. The incentive is intended to avert transmission of COVID-19 among staff and preserve service levels to residents. The total cost citywide will be $12,000 less depending on the number of employees electing to get the vaccine, and will be paid entirely from the grant funds. This amount will come from the American Rescue Plan Act federal stimulus payment. So I have a couple of considerations that I would like entered into the record on this. Firstly, Teller County, I spoke with Teller County, and I have permission from Dan Williams to share that they tried this in Teller County and they got no takers. So I have to ask the question, why would we choose to allocate funds to an issue which not only is contentious, but if people have chosen to do it, they're going to do it. And these funds would be better just set aside for something that's significant for the city, which would be for our water projects or something that's long-standing. I too share the concern, the legal concern, and that's the second part of what I like to read into the record. The FDA accidentally revealed the list of COVID vaccine side effects back in October 22nd of 2020. Not only have I personally lost friends immediately after receiving the vaccine, and the desire to protect her husband, who is a retired military vet. She thought she would protect him from getting the spread of the virus. She ended up passing away 3 days after the vaccine. There's many others. The statistics for spontaneous miscarriage in studies that have been done in women in their first and second trimester, out of 127 women, 104 had spontaneous miscarriages. The statistical, and there's some flexibility in it, but the average consensus is that spontaneous miscarriages in first and second trimester is about 12%. Well, if you do the math on 104 out of 127, that's 82%. 82% of women, after having this experimental vaccine, have lost their child. There's some other issues before I read this, what the FDA already knows are the problems with these. In young boys, the heart gets inflamed. And I'm not a doctor, but the casing around the heart gets inflamed. Blood clotting is common. And because of what's in the vaccine, doctors have, and this is doctors who are not with the CDC, have already realized there is huge blood clotting issues with this vaccine. So I will read you exactly.
Point of order.
I will read you.
I'm-
excuse me,
I'm-
just
I've
a
had
point of-
enough.
I've asked to read this into the record. I have every right to do so.
But I do have the
I'd
right
like
to
to know
ask
the
for a
source.
point of order.
That is correct.
A point of
Councilmember
order, then
Neal.
you can
Go ahead.
continue depending on the ruling. This is a nonpartisan body. Robert has brought a very partisan amount of data. If Robert is allowed to bring that, are each council member is going to be allowed to bring our research data to support a different party's agenda? I don't think it's right, since we're nonpartisan, to turn this body into a platform for partisan politics. I would ask that this not be allowed to continue.
I would like to continue. I have a right to express my concern.
Councilmember
I
Zuluaga.
feel interrupted by you.
I will support Mr. Niels.
I'm
Excuse-
sorry, you
and-
already dictated that we could have a conversation on this and discussion on this. And now that you guys don't like where it's going, you want to shut it down.
Exactly.
We are entitled, all of us, to share our opinions. I may not like the information you provide or the opinion you give, but it is your right to do so, just as it is Robert's. I might feel it's very partisan. I might feel that it's political. That's what we are up here.
No, we're
But
not.
Actually, we
No,
are
not.
nonpartisan.
Oh,
Well,
Dear
I'm not
God.
making this political. My concern is I am reading you this because I want the community to realize that if we, as council members, big deal, you think, incentive $100, excuse me, if that causes one of our staff members to lose their child, that bothers me. I will not have that on my conscience for $100. I will not. And then from a legal standpoint, I'm going on the record to say that I think it is wrong for our city officials. Look, our attorney before, Jason, what was Jason's other name?
Myers.
Jason Myers, when COVID first started, said, we are wise as a city to not go outside of what's happening at a county and a state level. And for us to put an incentive in there, which we already know is tried and true in Teller County to not be effective, why would we open ourselves to the possible litigation on issues which I will now continue to
So,
read?
I would like to I would like to withdraw this from the budget. If I have to listen to any more of this, I would just assume that the 12,000 come out of the supplemental appropriations so we can end this conversation.
I have asked to write this in the record and it will be written into the record. So if you
So-
want to withdraw it later, that's great.
Robert, who's the, where's this, what's the source?
The source.
What's the source?
FDA. This is from the FDA.
Okay.
I'll make this available to all of you. You can go back. It's timestamped. You can watch the actual recording of it. This is in October 22nd of 2020. First.
Of 2020. not
2020. They knew this well in advance, and that's my concern.
Well, I'd argue that what's the current study show? 2020 was a year
Possible
ago.
adverse, excuse me. The FDA safety surveillance of COVID-19 vaccines draft working list of possible adverse event outcomes. Guillain-Barré syndrome, acute disseminated encephalitis, characterized by a brief but widespread attack of inflammation in the brain and spinal cord that damages myelin, the protective covering of nerve fibers. Transverse myelitis, encephalitis, myelitis, encephalomyelitis, meningitis, encephalitis, meningitis, encephalopathy, convulsions and seizures, stroke, narcolepsy and cataplexy, anaphylaxis, acute myocardial infarction, myocarditis, pericarditis, autoimmune disease, deaths, pregnancy and birth outcomes, other acute demyelinating diseases, non-anaphylactic allergic responses, thrombocytopenia, disseminated intravascular coagulation, venous thromboembolism, arthritis and arthralgia, joint pain, Kawasaki disease, vaccine enhanced disease. The list also notes multi-system inflammatory syndrome in children as one possible outcome following vaccination. It goes on, and it was further, this same list, a little bit actually varied from it, was also presented at the CDC Immunization Safety Office on October 22nd. And there's another list of what those are. They are very similar. I will enter all of these into the record. I'll give you a digital copy, Suzanne.
Robert, may I ask how long this is?
No, I'm not going to read it anymore. I asked Suzanne to put the rest of it in the record, which has the actual links. You can watch the video. You can see that the FDA knew these things before this was approved. And now we're starting to see these very things happen in our society. And I suggested we have a liability issue. My concern is we have a liability issue. Whether you've chosen to take the vaccine or not, these are the issues that are there. There's plenty of research to show how you can deal with that if you have some of these issues going on in your own body. But I don't want the city to be liable for $12,000. I just don't want the city to be liable for something that is, it's not worth it. It's just not worth it. So I'm finished.
Thank you. Councilmember Neal.
May I now read from the CDC, the opposing things? I will take the next 10 hours reading it if you allow, but I'm not gonna do that.
Right.
I will bring counter arguments if we're going to turn this into a political body, which we're not. We're a nonpartisan. This is a partisan issue. I have supported doing the study or allowing the attorney to determine our risk. I agree our job is to protect the citizens, but the battle of whether a vaccine is safe or unsafe is different from the liability issue. So
I'm spelling out the liability. Exactly.
So I've stated I would support determining the risk, but if we're going to turn this body into bringing all the material that's floating all over Facebook and every social media, we can all bring stacks and volumes of data.
Right.
I'm not going to do that to the citizens, but I just want to say it's wrong that we're turning this into a political battlefield. It should be focused purely on the discussion of the risk, not reading all the stats on what has been reported in the VAER system, the vaccine adverse effects system, which is where all of that data comes from. I've read it at length, and you're talking about 0.0002% of the population having an adverse effect versus 500,000 people in the United States dying. So we can get into the political battle if you want, but I hope we just focus on, let's find out if we really have a legal risk.
Councilmember
Thank you.
Neal, to claim that you are trying to be nonpartisan here is not at all accurate. If you wanted to be nonpartisan, you would simply stay out of the issue altogether, not want a vaccine incentive, not want mandates, not sit here twice in the last 20 minutes and claim how pro-vaccine you are. You would say, to each their own, I'm not going to control the citizens. I'm being nonpartisan. I'm not taking a side. Please, our employees, do as you please. And quite honestly, for any of you to sit up here and claim that you are nonpartisan, I take offense to that. You're flat out lying to our citizens and they all know it.
Thank you, Stephanie.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and sum up the topic. Some of you
Thank
have
you.
concern that there's legal liability on behalf of the city, period.
I have one more point about this from a financial standpoint that I'm considering as I bring this up, and that is when Amy, our HR department, presented what the concerns were to the city, if there is somebody who contacts COVID, then her comment was that there needs to be, and I won't give you the exact details, but you remember the gist of it, like 14 days quarantine.
Yes.
Then contact tracing, and then 10 days or something for somebody if they don't find it. Well, those protocols are not being followed by other jurisdictions. They're not being followed by the county. The county says, if you're sick, stay out. When you're well, come back. They don't go through all the other things. The school district, we heard the superintendent tell us he's not doing contact tracing. He's contact tracing. If the kids are sick, they're staying out. So the school district is doing that same process. So I would suggest to our city staff that we should look at those models in terms of, instead of having the idea of wanting this $12,000 in the budget so that we don't lose a lot of staff and downtime from our staff, that we look at how other jurisdictions are coping with it quite successfully and not incurring the liability by having this. So that's my last consideration point.
Sure. And there, unfortunately for our HR department, there are different requirements. So the 14-day quarantining and all of that is dictated by the state and the
And the county.
guidelines which the city falls under. So they can't just do what they want, like the county can do different, they're under different guidelines and different rules.
How is
So-
that? We're home rule. How is that?
Michael?
I don't know the details of, I don't know how the school districts in the county do it. Rob, who is our, right, Rob is kind of a
Under
de
the bus,
facto
Rob.
COVID expert.
Well, and at our work session while he's walking up here, Amy did tell us and verify that she's following the county health department's
Yes.
guidelines
Yes.
on their website.
So yeah,
Go
those
ahead.
guidelines are from the CDC and the county does follow those guidelines. We pulled them up the other day. It is on their website. And I'm not as familiar with the school board, but I do know students there that were told that they couldn't go because somebody got sick. So they're doing contact tracing as well. But I do know it is on the county's website for sure.
Right. And I know that they're required to wear masks for 7 days and so on and so forth in the school because I have a student who attends the school there. So I don't know what rumors are, but I do know what the rules are. And I know that no matter the rumors or no matter how people choose to not abide by the rules, the biggest liability we face is if we choose to not abide by the rules. That's what gets us into the biggest trouble. So it's always best that if there are rules set forth for us and the city is underneath that umbrella of rules, that they abide by those rules, because that's what prevents us from liability the most. And you can shake your head no, but I do have a law degree, so I do understand the risk of liability quite well. And to say that either if you choose to break the rules, your liability is now on you. If you choose not to break the rules, the liability is a lot less. So if you guys want to remove this subject completely from the budget, we can do that. And then we don't have to talk about it at all. If you want to talk about it in keeping it in a certain manner, we can do that also. The only reason we're hearing it is because the city has asked for us to hear it. Not any single one of us has brought the issue. Not any single one of us was interested in the topic. Not any single one of us was concerned about who does or doesn't want to get the vaccine or would want an incentive for it. That's not us. None of us are personally bringing this. The city was asking us as an incentive because it's an idea that is brought forth to them from other cities who have done it and other municipalities. Whether it would help them or not, they don't even know. They're just asking for the opportunity for it. So we can either give them the opportunity and see if it helps, incentivize their employees because that's what they're asking for, or not. And that's up to council. But this issue of it being somebody up here's for it and somebody up here's against it, that's not necessary. You either want to give the city manager what he's asking for within his budget and his right, or you don't agree with it and don't want to. So really that's the conversation is, do we have consensus to have this piece go forward in our budget or not? So let me ask that, and we're going to move on from there. We're not going to have any further discussion. Do I have a consensus to have this go forward or not?
If you're asking two different things there. One is consensus to move forward. I would make a motion to say we just remove it from this expenditure period and be done with it.
Yeah,
Move on.
I'd like to make a suggestion since I kind of started down this road. As you stated, none of us actually put this on here. So I would suggest that we remove that money from vaccine incentive and instead move it under water and wastewater. That additional money that we're receiving.
I'm not going to make a determination at this time where that money will go. I would prefer that the city manager and department heads have that discussion and bring that back to us because I don't know where it's best spent, other than that's where they were asking for it. So if you would like to make a motion to
Well,
remove.
could I ask you to summarize the risk question one more time for me, please?
Sure. What I was hearing is there is concern that there is a health risk to taking the vaccine. And if you are incentivized to take the vaccine, what liability does that create for the city because they inducted the incentive? That's what I'm hearing. If you all would like to have the city attorney further research that before making a motion to remove this incentive, that is also fine. We can have the city attorney come back with further information about legal liability on behalf of the city for those who are choosing the incentive to get vaccinated. We can start there and then move forward. And if you don't like what the legal liability answer is, or you still don't like that it's an option in the budget, it can be removed at any time. We have not voted on the budget. Nothing is solidified all the way up until the very end. So if you would like the attorney to research the topic and come back to us with the answer, just so you guys know it before we wholly remove it, or we can do all of it. We can have the city attorney do the research, we
I
can
would
remove
like,
it, we
yeah,
can.
I would like to see the research.
So, but we just need consensus as to how to move forward with this topic.
Right.
So it's clearly controversial amongst my peers up here. But I just want to remind all of you that it's not about what we personally want. It was that we were given a task to try to determine something and have that outcome on behalf of the city, not on behalf of ourselves. So
If we're opening it up for public hearing next session, then this is
Right.
what we've just had up here is going to now spiral into the entire community. So we're going to
Sure.
have a much more escalated discussion next
Yes.
session. If we choose to leave it on and keep going, we're going to have a much more escalated discussion with the public on our next meeting. So
perhaps.
I would just as soon see it stricken from the ordinance. I don't want to listen to it anymore. I've had enough.
I'm with you, Councilmember Case.
I don't want to hear any of that stuff anymore.
Well, you can make a
It's-
motion
it's-
then.
I would make a motion that we remove the provision in ordinance 1407 for the incentives for the vaccination from, I believe it's the grant fund.
I'll second.
Give Suzanne a moment.
Yeah, I'm just writing the motion down.
Right.
Down what I have here.
And while you're doing that, I just would like to make the statement that it's not that I still support the fact that it's not a mandate. The employees still have a choice. They receive all the information they could possibly have that's endorsed by the CDC. I don't believe that this dais is a place for the things that have been presented this evening. But in order to save the public from listening to this anymore, I am asking for this to be removed.
I don't think you have the
So-
correct motion worded.
I don't, because I promise you that I have it in the minutes.
I believe you.
The vaccine incentives be stricken from the supplemental appropriations.
Correct.
Can I get a clarification? So we're just voting on that motion, not the entire ordinance right now?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Because that's what the motion actually
Yeah.
said.
I didn't get a
I
voting.
didn't get a vote either.
Yeah, ours
I didn't
disappeared.
get one either.
It was,
I think Grace was
withdrawn.
fixing something. So
We're just having some issues. I can take the vote manually.
whatever's easiest for you at this point.
Okay, let's do that. LeVar,
Yes.
Alfieri,
Yes.
Case,
Yes.
Kai,
No,
Neal,
No,
Silverado.
yes.
Thank you. Motion carries 4-2. Kai and Neal vote no.
Thank you, council. So now we have the ordinance as a whole, just to move to public hearing. Are there any other issues on here that you would like clarification on before we make a motion to vote to move it to public hearing? No. Okay. So can I get a motion to move this to public hearing, please?
I will move. Hold on. I will move to approve ordinance 1407 as amended on initial posting and set the public hearing for October 21st, 2021.
Second.
I don't have it. Sorry. It's my job.
I had to hit the save.
I don't have an option to vote. That's why I was singing the Jeopardy song.
Kelly, what's wrong with your computer?
It's not. Sorry.
Try it again. Sorry.
oh, we get to do
Okay.
it. We all get to do it
It's
again.
okay. I will vote yes because it's still not coming up and you may fix it for me. Thank you very much.
Mine came again. A second time.
Yeah. that's 'cause
Did
she-
yours come a
yeah,
second
she-
time?
'cause she resubmitted.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So Mayor LaBar.
Yes.
sorry, Mayor Pro Tem LaBar, may I make a motion to take a break since it's 9 o'clock?
Yes,
Already had one.
You already had one. I don't know how long you want it to be, but
we'll do 10 minutes.
thanks.
Back at 9:18. resume, and we're at 9A, public hearings. And we are looking at the approval of a new hotel and restaurant liquor license, and Suzanne's the presenter. This
Thank
is
you.
also quasi judicial, sorry.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. This evening, we will be looking for council to approve a hotel restaurant liquor license for Stuffed Food Emporium, doing business as the Stuffed Food Emporium located at 100 Morning Sun Drive, Woodland Park, Colorado, 80863. The applicant is Stuffed Food Emporium. They have a current tax license and a current FEIN number. The applicant submitted a petition to the clerk's office signed by 30 local residents and or business owners stating that the business is desirable and necessary and meets the requirements of the neighborhood. The location is eligible to be licensed. Proof of possession of the premises has been received, and the application was submitted on August 30th to the clerk's office. The public notice was posted in their window on September 20th and on the city's website. The character of the applicant is not an issue for this hearing, and all applicable fees have been paid. Following the public hearing, the clerk's office would recommend approval of the application from Stuffed Food Emporium for a new liquor license of a hotel and restaurant liquor license located at 100 Morning Sun Drive. I believe the applicants are waiting patiently here in the audience and
Thank you.
are available for any questions that council may have of them, and to allow them the opportunity to tell you a little bit about what they're doing and what their goals are.
Sure, that would be great. You guys want to go ahead and come on up to the podium? And just introduce yourselves and what's
Hello,
happening.
Council members, Mayor Pro Tem, my name is Michael Anderson. I am the chef and the creator of the Stuffed brand. This is Pam.
Hello, Council. I'm Pam Decker. I'm the general manager.
This is Justin. Justin's here to support us today. We started the Stuffed brand a few years ago, and we were touring around Colorado and other places doing music festivals and concert events with the food truck that many of you may have seen parked out in front of the restaurant right now. And the owner of the food truck and I have been talking for a long time about the Denny's location, as my wife and I are Divide residents for 4 years now. And so, after the pandemic, some opportunities became available, and the owner decided to make a move and contact Mr. LeBar and rent the property. And we're very excited to bring the brand to Woodland Park as our first brick and mortar location. We're going to be offering a full bar and restaurant with breakfast, lunch, and dinner options for everyone. We're going to be offering delivery for all of those items, breakfast, lunch, and dinner as well. We are turning the old meeting room, which was inside the Denny's, into a private party game room for children, so we can have a place to host birthday parties and private family events inside the location. And we're just looking to be forward to being a part of the community. We've come up with a couple of programs for veterans. Tell me a little bit about.
What we've come up with is the third Friday of every month is going to be free lunch for veterans.
Nice.
On the first Friday of every month is going to be free lunch for first responders, police officers, firefighters, paramedics, any emergency response or any first responder. So that is what we started. I have been in contact with the high school. We're going to be sponsoring some of their athletic programs with the high school. We are planning on being very community involved and bringing some different experiences to the community.
Excellent.
I'm Justin. I've lived here for about 2 years. I'm part of Focus on the Forest, the Teller 4x4 recovery, made 3 rescues last year. I was store manager at the Verizon for 2 years. And I'm one of the first employees, and I wouldn't be jumping ship unless I think these guys are awesome. So I just want the total love and support that I've been getting from the community.
Awesome. Thank you.
Any questions?
Absolutely.
Okay, we've got questions.
Well, based on the feistiness and hopefully we can still remain friends and socialize. Did you bring any samples? We may need it.
They're still in the cooler at the restaurant.
Okay.
We brought menus and coupons to the city use. Currently, we're talking about, so we didn't bring them this time, but we look forward to seeing all of you there.
But I was thinking y'all could use a drink.
I was gonna say, that's what we're asking.
Ah,
And
perfect.
Actually, I have a question too, because we keep seeing the name around. So what kind of wonderful food can we look forward to?
So the
I like
food
to
is,
say that over
it's
your
mixed
chef.
cuisine. We have a little bit of everything for everybody from pastas, salads, entrees, including fresh cut steak, grass-fed beef, local beef. We're
Nice.
a local supplier for all of our beef. We also have some seafood options. We have children's menu options. The stuffed brand is oversized plates loaded with crazy toppings. So if you take a look at our Instagram page or our Facebook, anything like that, you'll see like our Hawaiian burger is a half-pound patty, and then it's got slices of pineapple, slices of ham, barbecue sauce, crunched up onions, everything on top. We take like a Philly cheesesteak and put it inside a baked potato and serve a stuffed baked potato with a Philly cheesesteak in it. All kinds of stuff like that. But yeah, there's a little something for everyone. We'll have vegetarian, gluten free, a little bit of everything.
All you have to do is ask, I'll shake the calories out.
Yeah, so there should be a coupon there for a membership to the gym. Discount coupon for the gym.
Councilmember
Thanks.
Zuluaga.
I have a question for you. I hear that you're mixing alcohol and kids. So can you explain how that works within the framework?
Picture a concept like that. You take a look at like your Applebee's, your TGI Fridays, Cheesecake Factory. You know, it's a family restaurant.
Okay.
You can still come there, have a drink, celebrate an anniversary or an occasion, but it's family friendly. We're not going to allow it to get rowdy. We're not going to have, you know, we do have Sunday football, which we will be showing. We've got several televisions that we put up, so we hope to bring in some sports fans and stuff like that. But you know, family atmosphere at all times. I mean, you're having a drink, and then the game room behind you is behind you. The dining room is separate. So hopefully we can keep the bar area separated from the dining area, but at the same time, it'll always be a family type of atmosphere, even in the bar area.
Great. I just don't know in the law how that goes. Can that coexist? Fine.
Absolutely.
It can? Okay.
Absolutely. It's up to the owner of the restaurant to, you know, watch that children don't get served, that kind of thing. No one gets overserved. And it's the responsibility is theirs, but it absolutely can be done.
I guess where it comes up to my mind is when we have the school being within so much of where they're serving liquor, how does this make it different that the venue itself is like, doesn't matter. They could both be in the same place. So how does that?
If I could say, I mean, you could purchase a beer at Chuck E. Cheese.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can go to Chuck E. Cheese right now and purchase a beer. So I mean,
Okay.
there are plenty of restaurants that are family oriented where they still serve alcohol. I guess
Okay.
it has a lot to do
Dave and
with the theme of
Buster's?
the restaurant. Yeah, Dave and Buster's.
Okay.
I mean, that's not so much geared towards children. It is geared towards older, you know,
Right.
adults that like to play, and we can bring children here too. But
Okay.
when you guys come, you'll see it'll be a very comfortable family atmosphere. I have a 5-year-old daughter, and if she's not comfortable there, then I'm going to do something about it. So
Okay.
that won't be the case.
Thanks for clarifying.
Absolutely.
Thanks for clarifying. Yeah.
And I just want to add that I'm also certified in the serving of alcohol. So I know how to spot people who are getting intoxicated and how to handle the situation before it becomes an issue for the children.
Very good. Council, any further questions or comments? I think the community will look forward to having you here.
Thank you. We
Thank you
appreciate
very
it.
much.
Appreciate it. Look forward to serving you.
Thank you. And this is a public hearing, and I don't see any public in the audience that wants to speak on the topic. Is there anyone on Zoom, Rob? No one on Zoom? So can I go ahead and get a motion, please?
I'll make a motion to approve a new hotel and restaurant liquor license for the Stuffed Food Emporium. As written, is that okay, Suzanne?
That's perfect.
I'll second.
Okay, council, go at it.
Kelly, did it work?
Yeah, I know what I did wrong. I pulled that tab and put it in a different window, and so it was confused. Now I'm back where I should be. I'm
Thank
good.
you,
Now that the
council.
meeting's over, I'm cool.
Thank you,
Good job.
council. The motion passed unanimously. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
When's your first open house? Huh? Oh, they'll be back. Oh, they have to come back. Oh, that's right. Yeah.
All right, moving on to item 10, new business. None. We're moving on to reports. And let's see, I just have a couple brief ones. We have the homecoming game for the Woodland Park Panthers tomorrow night at 7 o'clock here. It's
Not
again-
here.
Oh, it's in Salida.
No, I mean, I
Oh.
was just joking. I
What?
meant like not here.
Oh, yeah, no, it's not here.
Hillary, homecoming is in your hometown.
I know.
It's in the hometown of the
So that's why I was
football.
like, when she's like, not here, I'm like, not here, Salida? She meant,
Not in chambers.
yeah, I didn't mean in Chambers, obviously. So if you're able to attend, do show your spirit, support the Panthers. Starts at 7 o'clock at the high school. So, we also have the Hallowpalooza happening in Woodland Park. And that'll be on the 23rd of October. They're going to do a pumpkin dive at the Aquatic Center. These are events sponsored by the city for this month. We'll have trick or treat October 29th at Memorial Park at 3:30 until 5, and it's free. Let me just clarify, the pumpkin dive at the Aquatic Center is from 6 to 8, and it's $10 a participant. And then we have the costume cornhole, October 29th at the Ute Pass Cultural Center at 6 o'clock. And that is $75 for your whole team. And there are cash prizes for the top 3 teams. And we have some sponsors. We had Schomer Construction, Walmart, Park State Bank, Coldwell Banker, Jason Roshek, the Better Hearing Center, Napa, Natural Grocers, The Sims Home Team, Remax Performance, and Hardcastle that have helped to sponsor these events for this month. So we want to thank our sponsors also. Then we also have the Chamber Lunch and Learn, and that will be on dementia, the topic of Dementia 101. That's October 14th at 11:30 a.m. And you can call the Chamber of Commerce for more details. And also, people ask a lot about volunteering and opportunities to volunteer. So tomorrow night at the Reserve Our Gallery at 6 p.m. at 400 West Midlands, Suite 120, Gail Gross is hosting a get-together to learn about all of the nonprofits that you can join in the city and boards and other local nonprofits that are available to join if you're interested. And you can also email reserveourgallery@gmail.com for further information if you'd like to participate, or if you'd like further information on local nonprofits. And that's all I have for the evening. Councilmember Raffieri.
And I do not have anything, but regarding the Charter Review Committee, I have not been able to attend the last few. So if one of my other council members who is on that committee could give an update, I would greatly appreciate it.
Councilmember Case.
I have nothing. Thank you.
Councilmember Nakai.
I have 2 things. First, the charter review. Stephanie, we've met twice. We've had 2 pretty good meetings. We still currently have 2 vacancies for citizens to join. So if you're interested, please apply. We're currently meeting on the 1st and 3rd Monday of the month at 5:30 at City Hall in the upstairs conference room. Main Street had to cancel their downtown cleanup last month due to lack of volunteers. However, they are working diligently at Shop Small Saturday, which will be November 27th, and planning is also underway for the lighter side of Christmas parade.
They should go to Gail Gross's event for volunteers.
Maybe.
Just saying.
And that's all I have.
I have
Councilmember Neal.
2 liaison reports. The first one is the Historical Preservation Committee. They had scheduled a meeting for October 4th at 3:30. They did not have a quorum, so nothing official did take place. However, they did have discussions about the 2022 work plan and the 22 budget, but nothing was voted on. It was simply ideas were put down on paper, drafted. Everybody kind of, okay, that's a good thing, but no votes. That was it for the Historical Preservation Committee. The DDA, we had a meeting Tuesday morning, October 5th. I think there are 2 important things. The first is that the board has voted to change the time of the meetings. It'll still be on the first Tuesdays of the month, and I'm going to say it slow so that anybody who likes to participate. They're on the first Tuesdays, but they will be at 6:30 PM. We're going from a morning meeting to an evening meeting. The second important thing that came out of it was we do have the work session tomorrow because they have delayed voting on all of the positions of the board until the 9th member was selected. The board is aware or was made aware that this Thursday we would be appointing the 9th member. So we did go ahead and schedule it. It was posted. So we will be meeting to make the appointments of the board.
So the DDA meetings are now going to be 6:30.
In the future, they will be 6:30 PM, the first Tuesdays of the month.
Excellent.
And I think that is it.
Councilmember Zuluaga.
Well, we were supposed to have some presentations. They were canceled.
Okay.
The projects, CK Patel canceled his presentation and Mike Williams was not there in person and did not have the material to present. So he just referred to, it will be provided in detail at a later time.
Okay.
Thank you.
Very good.
Well, my first report is the experience I had with my first CML conference. So a number of us on council went to CML. Some of us were new to it. The networking with other elected officials across the state was fabulous, absolutely fabulous. It was very impressive to see that. And to just have time to say, hey, well, what happens where you in your area, you know? The fellowship with our attorneys was very, very entertaining as well. Thank you. Got to know Elliot. The part that surprised me the most was the agenda that we have across the state. I'm being fresh to this. I'm surprised at where our state, what the direction of our state is. And of course, it filters down all the different workshops we had a certain flavor to them, which was like learning another language for me. They speak a language I don't understand, which was very interesting. The most significant one is I'm the liaison to the PPACG, Pikes Peak Regional Transportation, etc. And one of the workshops was on electric vehicles. My goodness, I went in to that meeting with my backup because I think the mandate to have 50% of our state being electric vehicles by 2030 is ridiculous. But I realized that bus is already in full speed motion in our state. So as much as I oppose it, as much as I think it's idiotic from a national security standpoint, and from just imagine yourself saying, hey, honey, I'm going to go get some milk in the middle of winter. And your battery goes flat. Where are you, honey? Oh, I couldn't find a recharging station. I'm stuck. Anyway, so, but I was very impressed with the Ford Mustang. The Ford Mustang electric vehicle is the slickest looking vehicle out. It's very cool. Why they don't make them hybrids and why we don't move to a hybrid is beyond what I can fathom. But anyway, PPACG, part of the rollout is they're looking at how they're going to put all of these recharging stations throughout the state. And the irony of it is it doesn't involve us. There's 3 places around the state that are supposed to handle 50% of recharging vehicles, right? They're Denver area. I think out to is it the east of Denver? And then down the south, way down south in the state. So it's odd. It's like there's these 3 pockets where where they have this, that's where all the charging stations are going to be and all this stuff. And we're not even on the map. Teller County, El Paso County is not even on the map. So anyway, so very interesting. It was a very interesting conference. I'm glad I went. And it opened my eyes to the fact that that there's an agenda there's an agenda beyond what we're Little Woodland Park and what we do. What they're doing in the state, I guess it's important as much as I bristle at it. It's important to understand what's going on at the state level because they'll just bulldoze us otherwise. So anyway, that's my report on CML, combined it with PPACG. And the last one I wanted to talk about is we all got a short epistle from the Veterans Rally. And I would like to just see if there's a consensus to have this put on the agenda. And one thing that was talked about after one thing I would like to request is if we can see if we can get some, when the budget cycle happens, if we can actually see, do we have any measurable sales tax, lodging tax revenues that will indicate if it gave the city a bump? I mean, that would be a good discussion place to start even before looking at next year. And then the second thought I had about it was there was talk about it being a countywide, and it was making this Veterans Rally event a weekend thing that included Victor and included Cripple Creek. And so rather than going into a direct response on this, I thought maybe we could have a discussion about it at another meeting and just sort of get some statistical facts and then go from there. So.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
They can't share, the city can't share sales tax. Maybe talk to some of the businesses on the street, see what they say with regards to the academy. If they saw.
So if
Let
I
me
can
ask a
add,
question.
we can share sales tax, aggregated sales tax data for the community.
Correct.
I did share some of that with the council in an email. But we can't drill down to individual businesses. That's confidential information. And day by day, we can't see it. We can look at it at the month level.
That was the question I was going to have is, do we have the fidelity at the day level so that we could, okay.
No,
thank you.
we can't drill down that specifically.
Well, if that's the case, then I guess we could invite businesses to come at public comment on if we have this discussion and get some feedback or solicit some of that. Would that work? I mean, is that a way to do it?
Visit with them?
Yeah, well, there's that too. Yeah.
Yeah, well, we can always put the item on the agenda for discussion and then people are welcome to come in and talk about it. So that's a way to find out as well. Sure. Okay, moving on. Elliot, do you have a report for us?
No updates from the city attorney's office.
But there's something you were stepping into, and that is the city attorney comes with a joke prepared.
Oh, do I? Next time.
Okay.
Well, I did forget to mention as part of the supplemental, it's not a big deal yet, but we are way over in our balloon budget. The prices are out of control. And I'm pretty sure when I can tell you that the reason is inflation.
Was that a joke? No.
Reason was inflation. Sorry, it's all in the delivery. So
it's a kid joke.
Is anybody left from the Citizens Academy? Okay, thank you for sticking it out. It's all the good parts at the end. You got to stay for the whole time.
It's good.
So we are 2/3 of our way through the Citizens Academy,
Oh, wow.
right? It's going really well. We have a full class of 25, I believe. And we've heard only positive feedback. So, and Grace is running that and doing a wonderful job. So thank you, Grace. And then also another thank you to Grace, but also Suzanne and Rob for spending God knows how many hours on getting Civic Clerk up and going. So it's been quite the slog, and I appreciate their tenacity. I appreciate all of you being here earlier this evening to be here to learn how to use it. It's a process. It's a good product once we get it going, but these three have worked very hard, and the rest of our staff has too. So thank you.
Good job, Kevin. Thank you. You learned it by the end of the meeting.
And then our planning director, Sally Riley, has a comp plan update for us and zoning code update now for us.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Lawson. So we're getting close to the finish line with the Envision 2030 comprehensive plan. The Planning Commission had spent 4 workshops, about 12 hours, reviewing all the work from the various subcommittees. And a final draft was prepared. That final draft was also reviewed by a retired professor for content and for format. And so Logan Simpson is now making those edits. We should have the final document next week. We're going to post that on the website, and the Planning Commission will have their public hearing at the end of this month on October 28th. And then it will come to all of you for endorsement on November 18th. So closing in on the joint resolution and all the work that has gone into our vision for our community. Logan Simpson is also busy at work with our unified development code. So we're combining the zoning regulations, the subdivision regulations, and the mobile home Title 16 under one unified development code. Tuesday morning, we spent an hour and a half going through the use matrix, which is desperately in need of updating. So they have put together a schedule, and we're meeting weekly, staff and Logan Simpson and the city attorney, to review various topics in the code review. I will start rolling out some of those pieces to the Planning Commission, and then they'll be able to look at it. If you would like pieces of those things, that's fine too. I can certainly forward that to you. The thought is to have the review completed by the end of the year, and then whoever is sitting in the seat subsequently can bring it forward for adoption. Any questions?
So that would mean that it's coming in for completion sometime in April or May or something?
Something like that.
Something like that, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you won't be here.
That's right. But there'll be other planners who understand code
Okay.
and can very easily advocate for the unified development code.
So my personal question for you is, are you satisfied? Are you pleased with the result that you've seen, as, because I know this is kind of your final focus, are you satisfied with what you see?
Yes, I'm very pleased with the work that the various committees did, as well as the Planning Commission.
Off the record, I am too. I'm pleased with the way you cleaned the process up. It was very good. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
Compare for me, because we were both involved in the 2020, if you will, comprehensive plan.
2010.
It was dated in 2010. We did it in 2010. And it
Yes.
went out to 2020.
Right.
How do you feel this process went as compared to that one?
A decade ago, it was way more intense than this time. This time was more streamlined, but I think it was because we had the 2010 comp plan as a great basis to start with.
Yeah, because we didn't have one.
No.
When we did it in
No.
2010. So we invented the wheel, if you will.
We had a master plan that didn't have action items. It had goals, objectives, and strategies. So the strategies weren't beginning with a verb, with an action. So, yeah, I think that in the 2009, we were really feeling our way through that one.
Okay.
This time I felt like we had people like yourself, Kelly, who had participated before, so they jumped in and were ready to just update things.
And there were a lot of people that participated this time that were there in 2010 as well.
Right.
Yeah. Thank you.
So, and if I may just wrap up after that, the final update is the Tourism Strategic Planning Group, the Restart Destinations Group that's funded through the grant. That process is moving forward. It's kind of reaching its kind of its peak. We're having a workshop for a number of stakeholders in the community, businesses, groups, individual residents who have a history in a number of different areas. They'll be convening next week to discuss some initial recommendations and kind of flesh those out and to help us determine as a community what that group would recommend we do going forward. How do we need more tourism? Do we need less? Do we need to be more sustainable? Do we need different kinds? And answer questions like that. So we're very excited to see that one go forward. And then after that, it's kind of some report writing, and we'll present that to you all at some point in the next month or two, I would imagine, at least a draft of it. That's all I got.
Very good. Council, anything further? And this meeting is adjourned. Thank you. Thank you,
you.
Sally.
We can log out.